ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। सदाशिवसमारंभां शंकराचार्य मध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्य पर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां। सद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। ब्रह्मसूत्रास चैप्टर 2 सेकंड सेक्शन अविरोध अध्यायः। रचना अनुपपत्त्यधिकरणम्। रचना अनुपपत्तेश्च न अनुमानम् प्रवृत्तेश्च पयोम्बुवच्छेत् तत्रापि व्यतिरेक अनवस्थितेः च अनपेक्षत्वात् अन्यत्र भावाच्च न तृणादिवत् अभ्युपगमेऽपि अर्थाभावात् पुरुषाश्मवत् इति चेत् तथापि अंगित्व अनुपपत्तेश्च अन्यथा अनुमितौ च न्यशक्ति वियोगात् विप्रतिषेधाच्च असमंजसम्। महद्दीर्घाधिकरणम्। महद्दीर्घवद्वा ह्रस्व परिमण्डलाभ्यां परमाणु जगत् अकारणत्व अधिकरणम्। उभयथापि न कर्म अतः तदभावः समवाय अभ्युपगमाच्च साम्यात् अनवस्थितेः नित्यमेव च भावात् रूपादिमत्वाच्च विपर्ययत् दर्शनात् उभयताच्च दोषात् अपरिग्रहाच्च अत्यन्तम् अनपेक्षा समुदायाधिकरणम्। समुदाय उभय हेतुकेऽपि तदप्राप्तिः इतर प्रत्ययत्वात् इति चेत् न उत्पत्तिमात्रनिमित्तत्वात् उत्तरोत्पादे च पूर्वनिरोधात् असति प्रतिज्ञोपरोधः योगपद्यम् अन्यथा प्रतिसंख्या निरोधा प्राप्तिः अविच्छेदात् उभयता च दोषात् आकाशे च अविशेषात् अनुस्मृतेश्च नासतः अदृष्टत्वात् उदासीनानाम् अपि च एवं सिद्धिः। अभावाधिकरणम्। नाभाव उपलब्धेः वैधर्म्याच्च न स्वप्नादिवत्। So we are seeing the fifth adhikaranam of the second pada of second chapter, and we completed Sutra 29 in the last class, the 200th running Brahma Sutra. And in this pada or in this section, Vyasacharya analyzes the other systems of philosophy to point out their deficiencies. He took up the Astika Darshanams like Sankhya, Yoga and all that. And then he takes up the Nastika Darshanas also, those systems which do not accept Veda Praman, Avaitika Darshanani. And in that context, Vyasacharya takes up Yogachara Buddhism for analysis, otherwise known as Kshanika Vijnana Vada. And this is the topic of this fifth Adhikaranam. And we have completed the first two sutras, that is 28th and 29th sutra in the last class. And now we will go to the next sutra. Nabhavaha anupalabdhehe. Nabhavaha anupalabdhehe. Sutra 30th, 201, first running Brahma Sutra. First, let us do the general analysis. Vyasacharya wants to show that the Jagrat Prapancha cannot be compared to Swapna Prapancha in several respects. If one compares with Swapna Prapancha, the dream world, one will have certain problems. And what are those problems? Vyasacharya says, Swapna Prapancha, the dream world, is mental projection. There is no problem for that, because the conditions for mental projection are already there. And what is the condition? Memory or vasana is required to mentally project anything. From anubhava, from experience of the object, one may be able to get these vasanas. Therefore, first, one experiences an external object. Words are all important. One experiences an external object, then register it in the memory as memory, and then again throw it out as projection later. So outside perception, registration as memory, then projection as dream. These are the three levels. And it is very much possible in Swapna Prapancha because in Jagrata Avastha, in the waking state, we are able to experience an external object. So an external elephant, for example, is experienced in the waking state, Jagrata Avastha. And then that elephant experience gives me an elephant vasana or recorded as memory. I am able to play back later. Therefore, Swapna can be projected because all conditions are fulfilled. What are the conditions again? Receiving experience in Jagrata Avastha, waking state, registering the experience as vasana, and then projecting the experience as dream. It is possible. Then Vyasacharya asked the question, hey Yogachari Buddhist, if Jagrat Prapancha is also a mental projection, what do you require? According to you, if Jagrat Prapancha is a mental projection, what do you require for that? You should have another state or avastha wherein this world, Jagrat Prapancha, should have existed outside. And you should have experienced that outside world. And you should have registered it, and then you should be projecting Jagrat Prapancha. Therefore, if Jagrat Prapancha is itself a projection according to you, then tell me, where did you gather the vasana? In which avastha did you gather the vasana? You cannot say Jagrat Avastha because Jagrat Avastha itself is a projection according to you. I hope you are following me with the arguments. You cannot say it is Swapna Avastha, dream Avastha, dream state because it is a mental projection. Dream itself is a mental projection. You cannot say Sushupti Avastha, sleep Avastha because there are no vasanas. They can be gathered in dream, in sleep. And what about Turiya Avastha or Samadhi Avastha? There also no vasanas can be gathered. Therefore, if Jagrat Prapancha, the waking world, is a mental projection according to you, where did you gather the vasanas about the Jagrat Prapancha? You can never answer that question. Therefore, Vyasacharya says, Jagrat Prapancha is not a mental projection because we have never experienced another avastha to gather the vasanas for Jagrat Prapancha projection. This is the essence of this sutra. Now let us see the word analysis. First, let us do the running meaning. Bhavaha. Bhavaha means the existence or vasanas. Existence of vasanas. We have to put the in bracket, we have to supply. The existence of vasanas, na. Na means it's not possible. Anupalabdhehe, because of the absence. And we have to supply because of the absence of what? Of the experience of external objects. Now we will see the significance of each of the words. Na. Na means not possible. Then question is, what is not possible? Bhavaha. Vasananam bhavaha. The existence of vasanas. Bhavaha is existence. The existence of vasanas. Okay. So existence of vasanas is not possible with respect to what? For Jagrat Prapancha projection. For Swapna Prapancha projection, vasanas are possible because they are gathered from Jagrat Prapancha while I am awake. But if you say Jagrat Prapancha itself is a mental projection, for that you require vasanas, and for that vasana you will go in for which avastha? It is not possible. So for Swapna projection, you gather vasanas from Jagrat Prapancha. And for a Jagrat Prapancha projection, from where you gather vasanas? This is the question he asks. You don't have any source of vasanas. Therefore, Jagrat Prapancha is never a projection. It is an experience of an external world, which is very much there outside the mind. Therefore, anupalabdhehe. Since there are no experiences in some other avasthas to gather the vasanas for Jagrat Prapancha. Okay. The word upalabdhihi means experience. And anupalabdhihi means absence of experience of what? Of external objects, which we have to understand. And this has to be taken as what? Absence of experience in another avastha. Because in Jagrata avastha, if you are considering that itself as a projection, then you need another avastha from where you will be able to gather this experience, another state. Anupalabdhehe is Panchami again, Heto Panchami, because of the absence of experience of external objects. Let us go to the next sutra, Sutra 31, 202nd running Brahma Sutra. Kshanikatvat cha, Kshanikatvat cha. So Vyasacharya's argument in these two sutras, that is 30 and 31, what is the argument? Vasanas are not there for the mental projection of Jagrat Prapancha, the waking world. Whereas for the mental projection of Swapna Prapancha, the dream world, vasanas are there and are possible. Now in this sutra, Vyasacharya says, even if there is some other state, let us assume, this is called, Abhipetya Vadaha. You assume to gather vasana, even if you assume hypothetically that there is some other state, for argument's sake, and Vyasacharya then asks the question, these vasanas have to be stored in some locus. For example, we do the class, and the class, all the class transactions, the lectures are all stored in the cloud. The cloud drive is stored. We preserve it, and we can play the class whenever you want. It is always we put in our site. All these are all possible because these vasanas, these impressions are stored in a steady medium called cloud or tape. A disk. Therefore, vasanas require a steady storing medium. If not tape, at least there must be a steady mind. If you don't have a disk or tape or cloud, you should have a steady mind at least. Because we have a doubt whether our minds will be steady or not, we trust the tape or the cloud more. And therefore we record in them. Anyway, we want one steady medium to store the vasanas. Therefore, Vyasacharya asked the question, in the case of Kshanika Vijnanavadi, where will be the vasanas stored? He cannot say in Kshanika Vijnanam, because if they are stored in Kshanika Vijnanam, what will happen? Kshanika Vijnanam being Kshanikam, momentary, the tape also will disappear after the class. Will anyone try to record on this? No. Therefore, we expect the tape to continue for some years, at least or longer. But here, the Vijnanam does not last for years because they are all Kshanikam, last for years, months, weeks, hours, not even minutes, seconds. So in the moment, the subject is gone. Therefore, where is the question of storing the vasanas? Therefore, where is the question of projecting the vasanas? This is the argument. So in the previous sutra, what was negated? We negated the source of the vasanas. And in this sutra, we are negating the locus of the vasanas. So when there is no source for the vasanas, nor the locus for the vasanas, how can you talk about vasanas at all? And when vasanas themselves cannot be established, how can you talk about mental projection of the Jagrat Prapancha? Understand, not dream world. Because they all depend upon vasanas only. Dream depends on vasanas. Now let us go to the word analysis. As usual, we will see the running meaning first. There are two words, Kshanikatvat and Chacha. Let us take the word Cha. Cha means moreover. And Kshanikatvat, because of the momentariness of the subject, but the subject which is Kshanika Vijnanavada. And we have to complete the sentence. There is no locus or ashraya or base or storing medium for the vasanas. This is the running meaning. Now let us see the significance of the words. That cha means moreover. It is used to indicate the two arguments. one which was given in the previous sutra and the one that is given in this sutra. And in the previous sutra, what was said? The source for gathering the vasanas we negated. There is no source. And in this sutra, we are negating the storing medium for the vasanas. Therefore, cha means moreover, a conjunction for the argument. Then kshanikatvat means it's very simple argument here. Momentariness, fleeting nature. It is like trying to preserve something. Swami says on a flowing river. You are on the bank of the river, let's say, and you want to keep your clothes somewhere, and the river is flowing. You want to store the cloth and take it later. And you keep it where? If you keep it on the flow of the water, what will happen? You can never retrieve the cloth later. In the same way, the vasanas can never be retrieved. They are gone. That is the question of projection, because everything is kshanikam. It keeps on changing. So where is the question of then projection? Therefore, vasana abhave, projection abhavaha. Therefore, Jagrat Prapancha is not a mental projection. But in Vedanta, Swapna Prapancha can be a mental projection because there is a storing medium called the mind. And there is a Jagrat Prapancha for gathering experience. Therefore, Swapna, dream, is a mental projection. It is being concluded in the next sutra, this particular topic. We will see that sutra also. Sarvatha anupapattescha. Sarvatha anupapattescha. Let us do general analysis of this sutra also. Vyasacharya makes a general statement here. And what is that? In all respects, Kshanika Vijnanavada is deficient or defective, sarvatha. Which means the arguments that I have given are only sample arguments. Who says? Vyasacharya says. They are only sample arguments. I have only revealed some of the doshas. If you go on studying the Kshanika Vijnanavada, you will find more and more doshas. And not only that, some of the doshas have been mentioned in the previous Adhikaranam itself. So what is the difference between the previous Adhikaranam and the present Adhikaranam? In the previous Adhikaranam, Vyasacharya dealt with a Buddhist who said there is a subject and there is a subject also and there is an object also. And he said both are kshanika. That Buddhist said that. There is a subject, there is an object, both are there and both are kshanikam. Kshanikam means fleeting. Whereas in this Adhikaranam, we are dealing with another Buddhist who says there is only the subject. There is no object. So in the previous Adhikaranam, subject and object both were there. And in this Adhikaranam, this Buddhist believes that there is only subject and there is no object. And what is the nature of this subject? It is also kshanika, fleeting. Therefore, what is common to previous Adhikaranam and this Adhikaranam? Previous Buddhists also said subject is fleeting and momentary. And in this Adhikaranam also it is said the subject is fleeting, momentary. So it is a flowing subject. And what Shankaracharya says is in his Bhashyam, if you say the subject is transient, there will be so many doshas, so many defects. Shankaracharya says. Like what? You cannot remember anything. Memory is not possible. Pratyabhijna is not possible. So many things, he said. Each one, they will not be possible. He said, so if the subject is taken as transient, there are so many defects, which are mentioned in the previous Adhikaranam. And Shankaracharya says, all those things you have to bring in here also. Where are they said? Shankaracharya reminds us from Sutra 20 to 27. In 8 sutras, deficiencies have been pointed out. We have already seen all this. If subject is transient, what are the deficiencies? Already it is discussed in the previous Adhikaranam. And those deficiencies have not been mentioned here because they are already said in the previous Adhikaranam. Therefore, we have to bring in all those things also here. And then if you analyze further, you find more defects also. And therefore, in all respects, Kshanika Vijnanavada is full of holes only. And not only that, some commentators add, by the way, this is an extension only. And they say, not only the contents are defective, even their language is full of grammatical mistakes. Some, when some of these commentators, they beat it to death, right? These are all some people like that. They say even their language is full of grammatical mistakes. Not only artha doshas are there, they also, that we have seen at least, do they know how to communicate this in the proper language? He's asking, this commentator asks. Even in the language also there are doshas. Therefore, in the sutra, sarvata means shabdataha cha, arthataha cha. So both the language wise and also content wise, both are mistakes. And one commentator points out what are the mistakes and wrong words they use. They took stock of all that in their bhashyas, in their commentaries. In Sanskrit, there is a word called drish. Drig, drishya, viveka. We have mentioned many times earlier also. I hope I'm able to take that subject once. So drish means, actually it's a root, it's pashyati, to see. So it is a verbal form, pashyati. And when it takes a noun form, we have to say darshanam. We should not say drishyati in verbal form, and in noun form it is not pashyanam, it is darshanam. But they make a noun form called pashyana. They use it as the abstract noun for darshanam, like upasana for upas, sadhana. Na ending denotes abstract noun, and so they adopted the same for pashyati, to see, and pashyana. And they added a prefix vi also. So then they made it as vipashyana. Pashyana, seeing, vipashyana, intense seeing. And this has been made a very big sadhana, vipashyana, meditation. It's a very, very popular meditation in their system. And if you look for the word in this Sanskrit dictionary, we can never find that word. Why? Because there is no word vipashyana. That is why they don't know if it is vipassayana or vipaschana, vipasanna, no such words at all. Similarly, tishtati is made as tishtana, no such word at all. But sthanam should be the word. Therefore, one commentator says they use words like pashyana, tishtana, and all that. So the commentator says, your language itself is in trouble. What is the question of writing a philosophy? These are all people, these are in Vidyagaram. They are all very scholars. We should understand that. These people also. So first go and study Sanskrit very well, he tells them. So sarvatam anupapattescha. This is the general analysis. Now let us do the running word meaning. Cha means moreover. Anupapattehe, because of untenability or illogicality. Sarvata, in all respects, we have to complete it. Kshanika Vijnanavada is not acceptable. This is the running meaning. Now let us do the word analysis. Sarvata means in all respects. That is language-wise also and content-wise also. Shabdataha cha, arthataha cha. Padadrishtya and padartha drishtya. Anupapattehe, being deficient, being illogical. Upapattihi means logic. Anupapattihi means illogical. Na vidyate upapattihi yasmin. And anupapattehe is fifth case. So again, because of the illogicality. Cha is conjunction to connect all the previous arguments, and because of all these, Kshanika Vijnanavada is not acceptable. Therefore, what is the conclusion now? There is a world outside the mind. World is never a projection of the mind. If at all you want to say it as a projection, you say projection of Atma. I will accept. But never say it is projection of the mind. Never say it's a mental projection. That is what Vedanta tells to the Buddhist. So with this 32nd sutra, we complete the Abhavadikarana. So through this, what Vyasacharya did? Vyasacharya negated Kshanika Vijnana Vada Buddhism, otherwise known as Yogachara Buddhism. And this Adhikaranam is a very, very important Adhikaranam because through this Adhikaranam, Vyasacharya and Shankaracharya clearly they reveal that the world is not our mental projection. It is not an illusion. It is not like a dream obtaining within the mind. Whereas world is existing outside and it was existent even before I was born, it will continue to exist even after my death as an individual. So it has an objective existence. It is not a subjective projection. And if you say the world is a subjective projection, it is called an idealistic view. Advaita is not idealistic with respect to world at all. It has got what is known as a Vyavaharika Satyam, practical reality, relative reality. Now the question may come that suppose I give a new definition to reality. It is a conventional definition of reality. That is, whatever is mental projection is unreal, and whatever is not a mental projection, whatever is existing outside objectively, that is real. Suppose this is the definition of reality. Because generally, everyone looks upon an external world as real and understands mental projection as unreal. This is the general understanding. This is the conventional definition of reality and unreality. We accept dream as unreal because it is mental projection. And we take world as real because it is not a mental projection. It is objectively outside. Suppose this is how we define reality. Then the Advaitin very, very boldly he will say, according to this definition, world is real. That is, definition of reality is separate from the mind. Then we will accept the world as real. When we say world is not real, what we mean is world doesn't exist separate from Atma, separate from consciousness. We will accept the premise world is separate from mind, but world doesn't exist separate from Atma. So we have got now two definitions of reality. What are the two definitions now? Number one, that which exists separate from the mind. That which exists separate from the mind. And number two, that which exists separate from consciousness. If reality is defined as separate from mind, world is real. But if reality is defined as separate from consciousness, then we say the world does not exist separate from consciousness. But what happens? Unfortunately, most people define reality from the standpoint of the mind alone. And because of that, if anyone casually asks whether the world is real or not, we say world is real only because it is separate from mind. It is not like dream. It exists outside. It has the capacity to affect me. World has the capacity to affect me. Therefore, world is real, real, real from the standpoint of mind. So only from the standpoint of Atma, we say it does not have a separate existence. Therefore, to talk about the unreality of the world, we have to spend years talking about Atma first. After teaching Atma for at least 10 years or more, depending on the individuals, then only we can talk about unreality. Without introducing Atma, you say world is unreal, everyone will mistake the world as mental projection only. Visishtadvaitin, Dvaitins, they all have mistaken Advaitin in this manner. It is because the definition of the word unreal is not clear. And this clarity is given only in this Yogachara Khandana Adhikarana. That is why I mentioned that this Adhikaranam is important because of this reason. That clarity is given in this Yogachara Khandana Adhikarana. Therefore, Advaitam is not idealistic from this angle. Advaitam is realistic only from the angle which we discussed just now. So with this Yogachara Mata, Khandanam is also over. And before we go to the next Adhikaranam, let us first take stock. We'll consolidate what we have done so far in this pada. That is section 2 of the second chapter of Brahma Sutra. We have completed 5 Adhikaranams or 5 topics so far. And what all we have negated? The whole pada, second pada, is a negation pada only. More than establishing Advaita, this pada is fundamentally interested in refuting other systems of philosophies. And in the first Adhikaranam, Rachana Anupapatti Adhikaranam, the Sankhya and Yoga Darshanas have been refuted. We saw that elaborately. Because both of them have got a common philosophy, they both were negated. Therefore, one Adhikaranam for refuting 2 systems of philosophies. Then the second and the third Adhikaranams, that is Mahaddirghadhikaranam and Paramanu Jagat Akaranatva. These 2 Adhikaranam, Vyasacharya refuted Nyaya and Vaiseshika systems of philosophy. And here also we should remember, both of them are almost the same or very similar, Nyaya, Vaiseshikas. Therefore, 4 systems are gone. That is Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, and Vaiseshika. Then the 5th one is Purva Mimamsa, which has not been refuted by Vyasacharya, but it has been already refuted by Shankaracharya in the 4th sutra, Tattva Samanvaya, chapter 1, pada 1. So in the Samanvaya Sutra, otherwise known as Samanvaya Adhikaranam, Purva Mimamsa has been refuted. So 5 systems of philosophies have been refuted already. And all these 5 together are called Astika Darshanani. And in university language, they call it as Orthodox schools of philosophy. In the university curriculum, they call it Orthodox schools of philosophy. Thus, 5 Orthodox systems have been refuted so far. But how many Astika Darshanas are there? There are 6 Astika Darshanas are there. And the 6th one is not refuted yet. Why? We are the 6th one, namely Vedanta, or the Uttara Mimamsa Darshana. Negating it will mean what? Negating it ourselves would amount to committing suicide. So the 6th Orthodox Darshanam is Vedanta. So don't say Advaita or Visishta Advaita. The 6th one is Vedanta in general. And within Vedanta, the internal divisions are Dvaita Vedanta, Visishta Advaita Vedanta, and Advaita Vedanta. We are not talking about internal divisions here. We talk about Vedanta in general. That is the 6th Orthodox school. And therefore, that is not refuted. And in the 4th Adhikaranam, Samudaya Adhikaranam, Vyasacharya refuted 2 systems of Buddhism, known as Vaibhashika Buddhism and Sautrantika Bodhamadam. Both he refuted. Both have got several common features. And therefore, they were together dealt with in one Samudaya Adhikaranam. Then in the 5th Adhikaranam, Nabhava Adhikaranam, which we have just completed, the 3rd system of Buddhism, namely Yogachara Buddhism, that is negated. It is otherwise known as Kshanika Vijnana Vada Buddhism. And all these 3, they come under Nastika Darshanani, heterodox schools or non-orthodox schools of philosophy. And on what basis we say orthodox and non-orthodox? If you remember, orthodox means they all accept Veda Pramanam, Vaidika Darshanani. And heterodox or non-orthodox mean none of them accept Veda Pramanam, Veda Bahya Darshanani. And how? Now we have got actually three more Nastika Darshanas. They are left out. And what are those three? One more system of Buddhism is there that is called this Shunyavada Buddhism, Shunyavada Matham of the Buddhism. And this is the fourth school of Buddhism, which is another one. It is also another Nastika Darshana. And the next one is Jaina Darshanam, and another one is Charvaka Darshana. So Shunyavada Buddhism, Jaina Darshanam, and Charvaka Darshanam. So 3 plus 3 non-orthodox schools. And here we can negate all the 6 because all the 6 are outside Vedanta. In the Astika Darshanas, we negated only 5 because 6th being Vedanta, we didn't negate it. And here all the 6 Nastika Darshanas we can negate. And of these 3 remaining ones, Vyasacharya, so we already dealt with 3. So Vaibhashika, Sautrantika, and Yogacharya Buddhism have been already negated. Now we got 3 more. And among the 3, Vyasacharya deals with only 1. The other 2, he does not discuss at all because he feels that they are too low and therefore they do not deserve to appear in Brahma Sutra itself. Even as a Purvapaksha, they don't have even that status, perhaps. That's what Vyasacharya thought. And therefore, we will have to separately negate that ourselves for our completion. And of that, Shunyavada Buddhism, Shankaracharya does not negate. That we have to add in this context. So before we go to the next Adhikaranam, we have to independently negate the Shunyavada Buddhism. Therefore, that should occur between the 5th and the 6th Adhikaranam. Before we go to the 6th Adhikaranam, we complete 5th Adhikaranam, we have to do it in this point. And why do we introduce Shunyavada in this context? Why such a position? Because 3 schools of Buddhism we have already negated. Only 1 more is remaining. Therefore, in that context itself, we have to supply the negation of the 4th school also. And Shankaracharya himself mentions it here. He says, Shunyavadaha, we do not want to consider at all because it doesn't deserve consideration. And what is the reason? I think we already mentioned it the other day. Shunyavada means nothing exists. Sarvam Shunyam. Nothing exists. So the first 2 schools of Buddhism said, object is also there, subject is also there, Vaibhashika and Sautrantika. And the 3rd school of Buddhism said, object is not there, subject alone is there, Yogacara. And the 4th school of Buddhism says, neither the subject nor the object is there. That is Shunyavada. So what is there? Sarvam Shunyam. And for that, what is the answer? Shankaracharya gives one answer and Vidyaranya gives an interesting answer in his Panchadashi. So if Shunyavada asks, if he says Sarvam Shunyam, it means Shunyavada philosopher is also Shunyam, non-existent. Very simple. And if Shunyavada philosopher himself is non-existent, as far as we are concerned, the Shunyavadi Purvapakshi is non-existent also. If Purvapakshi himself is non-existent, why should I take pains of answering a non-existent Purvapakshi? That is what in Panchadasi Vidyaranya says. Therefore, Purvapakshinaha eva abhavat Shunyatvat maya uttaram na bhaktavyam. This is Vidyaranya's answer. Shankaracharya gives another answer. He says, Sarva Pramana Virodhat. Shunyavada is against all instruments of knowledge, all pramanas. Because every instrument or pramanam what does it reveal? It reveals a prameyam. Existent prameyam or non-existent prameyam? Existent prameyam, distinct prameyam. Therefore, when every pramanam reveals a distinct and existent object of knowledge, your system is going against sarva pramana. And therefore, it is not based on pramana. Because in all systems of philosophy, there is one fundamental principle. What is that? Whatever you say, it must have some pramanam. There should be some means of knowledge to say something. Either I should see it, I should hear it, I should infer it, or at least scripture should talk about it, Shabda Pramana. So without any Pramana, if I say there is an elephant here, for example, then you will ask, how do I say so? What Pramana I have to say so that there is an elephant here? Is it visible? All those questions you'll ask. So some Pratyaksha Pramana or Anumana Pramana or Shabda Pramana should be there. Suppose there is no Pramana at all. I just said, if I say that is called imagination or speculation. If I say there's no Pramana, I just only said if I say that, then it's a speculation or an imagination. They can never be accepted or considered for discussion at all. For Shunyam to be proved, you need a Pramanam. And there is no Pramanam to prove Shunyam. In fact, every Pramanam reveals existence only. And the interesting thing is what? Even if there is a Pramanam to reveal Shunyam, then the Shunyavadi should accept the existence of a Pramanam to prove the Shunyam. Therefore, he cannot say Sarva Shunyam. Right? If there is a Pramanam to reveal Shunyam, then the Shunyavadi should accept the existence of a Pramanam to prove the Shunyam. Therefore, he cannot say Sarvam Shunyam. He can only say, other than that Pramanam, nothing exists, he might at best say. He can never say nothing exists. Therefore, Sarva Shunyam philosophy is Pramana Rahitam. Tasmat, it is never acceptable. So, the four systems of Buddhism are now negated, with Shunyavada also negated in this manner. Incidentally, we should also note another point. There are some later scholars, commentators, especially actually Western scholars also, following Indian scholars. They are Western scholars, but they follow Indian scholars. They claim that Shunyavada is talking about Advaitam only. They say Shunyavada talks about Advaitam only. It may not be of interest to us, but just I want to mention it. They claim Shunyam does not mean nihilism or non-existence, but it means it is the absence of the world. It is not nothingness, it is absence of the world. And it is said by the word Shunyam because no word can be used to explain it. Yataha, vachaha, nivartante. No word can be used. You cannot say it is sat. It is sat or asat. In Bhagavad Gita itself it is said, Yegam yettat pravakshyami yajñatva ashnute anadimat param brahma nasattanna suduchyate. Nasattanna suduchyate. You cannot call Brahman as sat or asat. No word can be used. So this inexplicability is called Shunyam. It is not nothingness. It is not Buddhist says, other commentators comment like that. So there are some people who claim that Shunyavada says exactly the same thing as Advaita. And they strongly criticize Shankaracharya also, saying that Shankaracharya did not understand this, and misunderstanding Shunyavada, Shankaracharya has also criticized it. Then for that, the traditional people give an answer. There are only two possibilities. What are the two possibilities? Shunyavada is either the same as Vedanta or different from Vedanta. These are the only two possibilities. And if you say it is different from Vedanta, then we will analyze it, and whatever be the deficiency, we will criticize it, as we did for all other cases. If Shunyavada means nothingness, it is different from Vedanta, and therefore we negate it. Suppose you say Shunyavada is same as Vedanta. then what we will say? We will say, please remove the name Buddhism from that. Swami Dayananda also says this. Please remove the name Buddhism from that. Because if Shunyavada is same as Vedanta, why should you call it as Buddha's teaching? Because long before Buddha was born, Vedanta existed. And Buddha will become one of the acharyas. We don't say it is Shankaraism or Vyasaism. Therefore, Buddhism should be absorbed in Sanatana Dharma. It should not claim any individuality at all. Are you ready to accept this? That's the question they ask. And if you are ready, then we will accept Shunyavada as Vedanta. Because after all, we are not bothered about the word. Another word for Brahman is Shunyam. You are saying fine, so what? But does not mean non-existence. It is a word which connotes something beyond expressions like existence, non-existence and all that. This is a new school. But the tradition does not go with that. So with this, the four systems of Buddhism are over. Now we have to enter into the fifth Nastika Darshanam, namely the Jaina Darshanam, which is discussed in the next Adhikaranam. So we will talk of this Charvaka Darshanam later after we do this. So let us now enter into the Jaina Darshanam, which is the fifth Nastika Darshanam, and that is discussed in the next Adhikaranam. Let us read. This is sixth topic, sixth Adhikaranam. Ekasmin na sambhavadikaranam. That is the title of this Adhikaranam. Ekasmin na sambhavadikaranam. And it has 33, 34, 35 and 36 4 sutras. And the first sutra, Sutra 33 is Naikasmin Asambhavat. Naikasmin Asambhavat. Sutra 33, 204th running Brahma Sutra. First, let us do the general introduction to this Adhikaranam, to this entire Adhikaranam. Let us understand the context, the background. So, this is the sixth Adhikaranam and it is called Ekasmin na Sambhavadikaranam based on the first sutra, Naikasmin Asambhavat. But even though it begins with na Ekasmin Asambhavat, we drop the na. And it is a medium-sized Adhikaranam with 4 sutras, 33 to 36. And in this Adhikaranam, Vyasacharya is refuting the Jaina Darshanam. And we will briefly see what is Jaina Darshanam. It is supposed to be founded by 24 Acharyas, beginning from Rishabhadeva himself as the first Acharya. And Vardhamana Mahaviraha, who is the 24th Acharya and the last Acharya. And all these Acharyas are called the Tirthankaras. Tirthankaras means noble ones, Mahatmas, holy people, the great ones, all that. And they have conquered the sense organs, who have got Shama, Dhamma, and all those niyamas, and all those various disciplines. These are actually beautiful expressions. And since these Acharyas are called Jinaha, they are all the people, the Darshana born out of Jina has to be known as Jaina. Jina Sambandhi Darshana, Jaina Darshana. And incidentally, Vardhamana Mahavira, the last one, is supposed to be a contemporary of Buddha. Therefore, they existed about 2500 years before. Both were born there. And Vardhamana Mahavira revived and popularized Jainism, which was originated by Rishabhadeva. So even in Bhagavatam, Rishabhadeva Upakhyanam comes and he is considered to be even an avatara of the Lord. Therefore, indications of Jainism are there in Srimad Bhagavatam itself. And this is called a Nastika Darshanam because they do not accept Veda Shabda Pramanam. But they do talk about Shabda Pramanam. They are not accepting Veda Shabda Pramanam, but they talk about a Shabda Pramanam. But in their Shabda Pramanam, their Shabda means their own scriptures, not Vedas. And in their Jaina Darshanam, they talk about 7 categories, Sapta Padarthaha. Because every system of philosophy has to enumerate the categories or the padarthas, namely the basic things. Some philosophies talk about two padarthas. In Advaita, we start with two, namely Atma and Anatma. And after Jnanam, that becomes one. Therefore, we start with Satyam and Mithya. And Visishtadvaitam talks about three, Jiva, Jagat, Chitta, Chit, and Mahavishnu and all that. And Vaisheshika talks about Sapta Padarthaha. Nayayika talks about Shodasa Padarthaha. Saivism talks about 36 Padarthas. Thus, every system has to enumerate the Padarthas. And Jainas talk about Sapta Padarthaha, from which we get some idea about their philosophy. And some of them are going to be refuted in this Adhikaranam. Therefore, we will briefly only see these 7 categories. I will only just enumerate the 7 categories. We will elaborate each one of them later. And what are those 7 categories? Saptapadarthaha of Jainism. Number 1 is Jivaha. Jivaha means the Chetana Atma. That is the first category. Chetana Atma, the sentient principle. Then Ajivaha. Jivaha and then Ajivaha. Ajivaha refers to the Achetana Prapancha, the insentient. That is the second category. Ajivaha, Achetana Prapancha, the insentient world, universe. Then Ashravaha. Ashravaha is acquisition of karma. Literally, it is the flow of karma. That is the third category, Ashravaha, acquisition of karma. And they have got a very peculiar way of dealing karma. When we see the elaboration of each one of those words, we will find it interesting. And then Samvaraha. Samvaraha means stopping the flow or acquisition of karma. So, Ashravaha is acquisition of karma, literally the flow. Ashravaha means the flow. And Samvaraha is stopping the flow or stopping the acquisition of karma. That is the fourth category. And the fifth category is called Nirjaraha. Nirjaraha means Karmanam Jarikarana. Thinning out of the karma particles. For them, karma is also particulate. Karma is particulate according to their system. You will see that. So, thinning out of the karma particles, that is the fifth category. And they got the sixth category is Bandhaha. Bandhaha refers to Karma Sambandhaha, Dukkha Sambandhaha, association with karma, Karma Sambandha, and consequent association with pain, Dukkha Sambandha. So, Karma Phala Sambandha, that is the sixth category. Then they've got the seventh category that is called Mokshaha. Mokshaha is freedom from Karma Sambandha and consequently Dukkha Sambandha also, even Ajnana Sambandha also, freedom from all these Karma Sambandha, the Dukkha Sambandha and Ajnana Sambandha. That is the seventh category. And we have to understand elaborately each one of them for us to understand the Jainism. And once we understand Jainism, then only we will be able to find out what are the deficiencies in that philosophy. And then we can attempt to negate them only then after we understand the philosophy clearly. So first we have to have all these 7 categories. And even in the second category itself, there are so many subdivisions. We are going to see all of them in some detail, because without understanding the total concept of Jainism, at least in some good manner, it is difficult for us to understand how it is refuted by Vyasacharya. So I will go, maybe I'll stop here, and then because if I have to elaborate each one of them, it is going to take time. I may not be able to finish in the next 5 minutes. So I'm going to stop it here. And if anybody has any comments. Om yo vedado swara prokto vedante cha pratishtitaha tasya prakritilinasya parasya maheshwaraha purnamada purnamidam purnat purnamudachyate purnasya purnamadaya purnameva vasishyate ओम शांति शांति शांति। श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम।